rampant bribery and manipulation. The EFF also says they don't believe any of Glencore's business dealings in South Africa are above board. So to speak a little bit more on this, we are joined by the EFF national spokesperson, Sinao Tambo, who is in studio. Great to have you. Thanks for coming in.
No problem.
Yeah, so let's get your reaction straight away to that ruling.
Look, as the economic freedom fighters, we're not shocked that what we have long identified as a multinational criminal syndicate in Glencore has been involved in what can only be described in a global network of state capture. So they have established networks across the world in South America and Africa, which will enable them to be able to extract the mineral resources of these countries through shady, dodgy dealings and capturing of states and capturing of state officials. So we're not shocked by this because we had long identified them as that type of character. But generally, the mining cartel of the world does not operate in any moral or ethical manner in any country and state. So Glencore has been implicated in securing oil contracts through bribes. They've been able to secure and avoid government audits through bribes. And of course, they've also been bribing judges in various nations in order to avoid lawsuits. This has been happening in Cameroon, in Cote d'Ivoire, in Venezuela, in Brazil, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which we have seen have been in a war, permanent state of war over their natural resources for over 60 to 70 years. So Glencore is part and parcel of a global imperialist multinational companies which undermine the sovereignty of states, undermine the rule of law, and undermine democracies by bribing them in order to ensure that they secure their wealth and their profit maximization efforts.
And you've been saying this for a while. And I mean, one of your statements that came out yesterday is that you basically say that you are vindicated as constantly calling Glencore a criminal syndicate. That's what you've been calling them.
Absolutely. And their operations have been no different in South Africa. It's extremely naive to think that they would be bribing and meddling in politics and democracies and economic policy perspectives in Cameroon, in DRC, in Brazil, in Venezuela, but would have legitimate business dealings in South Africa. It's foolish. So the current president, Cyril Ramaphosa, had a 9.47% shareholding in Optimum Coal Mines, which was a subsidiary and intermediary of Glencore. So they operate through creating shell companies and shell subsidiary intermediaries, which will facilitate these bribes and buy political influence. And Ramaphosa was part and parcel of that because he was the chairperson of Optimum at a certain point in time. And then he was proceeded to be a deputy president who led the war room in an attempt to revitalize key state-owned entities and Eskom in particular. And Glencore is well known and well recorded to have been engaging in terrorist negotiation methods to increase their coal price supply to Eskom and at exorbitant prices while they were providing substandard coal. So South Africa is not immune to this, and the report from the Justice Department's financial division did say that how they operated in the countries that were named was no different to how they operated in the world generally. And our primary concern now is where are the banks of South Africa which are so quick to shut down the banks or the accounts of people who are associated to corrupt criminal networks. Here is Glencore. Where are the associates of Glencore? Where are the bank accounts of Glencore? When are they being shut down? Because our banks like to crusade and parade themselves as anti-corruption. But here's a global criminal today, and there's been no outcry from our financial sector. There's been no statement from the Department of Public Enterprises, no statement from the president, who was a shareholder there and was leading the supposed revitalization of Eskom, which has completely failed. So there's complete silence on this. The State of Capture Commission report of Zondo completely ignored the allegations against Glencore and decided to focus solely on Gupta-aligned entities. But because Zondo only performs for factional interest, he could not go after Glencore. He said nothing on Glencore. We are waiting to see if he's going to call a press conference now, because that's his style of operation, to condemn Glencore's global influences and call for further investigations on Glencore's business dealings in South Africa. There's complete silence. And as the EFF were vindicated in saying that is because of the capture of the officials of this country.
So you are now calling for a major investigation into this. I mean, we've got, it's there, the rulings are there in black and white, and you are saying that you want particularly SARS as an organization to go back to, I think the date was, when was
2007.
it? 2007 to present, look at their bank statements, look at the money flow, and watch every cent and where it went. Have you formally asked them to investigate that? You're also calling on the NPA and the Hawks. So talk to us about, have you taken that a step further?
Absolutely. So the EFF is in the process of engaging and writing to the South African Revenue Services to collaborate with the National Prosecuting Authority, the Financial Intelligence Center, and the Hawks to ensure that they investigate all of Glencore's business dealings through their intermediaries or subsidiaries here in South Africa. And that investigation must look at their banking transactions since 2007, because 2007 seems to be the period where a lot of these corrupt dealings have been targeted or isolated across the world. So we are calling on these institutions in South Africa to trace the banking transactions of Glencore, and that must firstly be preceded by freezing all of their accounts, if they have any, and all of the accounts of their associates, to trace if there's been any interaction or transactions between Glencore and government representatives or government entities or businesses aligned to politicians in South Africa, and to ensure that this work is also done through working with telecommunications entities, because the report on what happened in the Democratic Republic of Congo is that an agent of Glencore there was receiving calls and SMSs regarding a contractual situation or deadlock there in the DRC. And that was resolved through the agent telling this Glencore representative at an international level